Okay. Well, I don't have a lot of time here, so let me try to get right down to it. And before I go ahead and start talking here, I would like to take the opportunity to say that the views that I'm about to express are my opinion. So, in any efforts that my democracy may not hold up, I just want to go ahead and in an event that I may get censored, I want to go ahead and just state that this video is my opinion. Although many of the points are probably true, but anyway, let's not babble on here. Let me go ahead and break down the word democracy, because that seems to be like a word that is kind of castrated into a narrative now. And many people, especially people in the media, they use this little catchphrase that it's a threat to our democracy. Okay, well, I mean, they did when the Trump was in office. Let's see how things go for them now. But democracy basically means that I have the right to think and to believe and to say my opinions, my views, I'll say what Oprah Winfrey says, my things that I hold to be values of truth. Well, she said it a little differently, but whatever. So that basically is a layman's terms of what democracy means. And it doesn't really appear to me that it's all that fair nowadays in today's society, particularly this country called America. Seems like we're getting censored if these tech companies disagree with us. So, what's going on with our democracy? It's a big question there. Very, very big question. Now, want to also float another idea out there that may or may not piss off some Trump supporters, be that as it may. But before I throw that out there, I do believe that this election, I do not think it was an honest one. That is my opinion. Okay, there's many things to support it. There are many claims. There are hundreds of affidavits and videos that go on and on that support this. While the mainstream media will say that there is no proof of a faulty election. Am I happy that Joe Biden is the president? I'm not happy. Okay? Do I believe that people have the right to say, well, he's not my president? Well, I mean, what's fair is fair. All the people that shouted out, that screamed on mountaintops for 4 years continually till their throat hurt, until they were purple in the face, orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad. Well, they had that privilege. They had that right because that was their democracy. Our democracy gave them that right. So, in essence, it should go the other way too. If you don't support Joe Biden as being the president, or you have opinions about whether the election was fair or not, now you're being accused as being un-American. Okay? Many people are saying that we're not unifying with cheaters. That is our right to be able to say that. That is what we believe. Just like you shouted on hilltops of all different sizes, orange men bad, consistently until your throat hurt. So, that being said, is Joe Biden the president? Of course he is. He got inaugurated. I may not agree with it. I may not like it. But he is the president of the United States. I don't have to sit there and say Joe Biden is my president. He is the president. That's just a fact. Whether the election was fair or stolen, okay, is another thing. But the fact remains is that he is the president of the United States. It is what it is. Boy, that's an overly used term, isn't it? It sure is. But it is what it is. So as I reflect here, I just find the double standard to be very, very high when people were when they had the military all around the inauguration and so forth, and how people were saying like, oh, stay safe and everything else. And I mean, that coming from people that supported groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa, that pretty much, let's just call it is for what it is, burned down cities all year long. I find that quite amusing in a very ironic way. I just do. Now, many of you that do not agree with me, let me also spew out an idea. Let me float something out there. Okay? And listen up. We are the content we view. So if you're somebody that watches the National Geographic all the time, you probably have something of an intellect that is maybe on a historical perspective. If you're someone who watches cooking channels, okay, or reality shows, all right, many of the selections that we tend to view mold us as people and who we are. I haven't watched the mainstream media in quite some time. I really don't even watch Fox News that much anymore. I may catch a little glimpse of Tucker or Laura Ingraham or Sean Hannity. And I would just say because those are perspectives that I align with for the most part. But it's probably somewhere in the vicinity of maybe a few times a month, a handful of times with maybe a couple of fingers left over. I prefer to do research and get information from quote unquote alternative news. A gentleman that I follow quite regularly is a gentleman called his name is Larry Elder, and he's from the Epoch Times. And I find his perspective to be a generally well-rounded perspective of objectivity. Okay? Let me make it more simpler. He just tells it as it is. Jordan Peterson, another one. Ben Shapiro from time to time. I guess when I like a little comedy relief, Nick DiPablo's, he's an interesting guy, but I haven't really watched any of his videos in probably over a month. Another gentleman that I watch a lot is David Harris Jr., Anthony Brian Logan, Brandon Tatum. Now, are some of these guys a little bit more right than the others? Yeah, in varying ways. They could be. Brandon Tatum might be a little bit more conservative than, let's say, Jordan Peterson. Larry Elder could be a little bit more liberal, say, than David Harris Jr. Candace Owens could have a very broad perspective on a lot of current issues right now, but probably lean more towards the right center, even though she is from the left. Yeah, there's so many of them that I follow right now. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I follow these people here. The main nobody from CNN or NBC or MSNBC or CBS. Some Fox sometimes will bring these people on for interviews, but no one from these mainstream media outlets will even have them on their shows. And you have to ask the question, why? Why? And it's very simple. They simply do not align with their conservative points of view. The media is far left. And if you disagree with them, then you are a bigot. It's not enough to be a conservative, which basically is a person that supports limited government and freedom of thought. And many senses of that word, that's a very liberal concept, freedom of thought. But if you have an opinion about something and you say, well, I am a Christian, I am a conservative, that's how I identify, and you say, I don't have anything against gay people, I love everybody, I just don't believe that the decisions that they make, okay, and this is just an example, okay, I'm not saying, okay, and it's not saying, and that, as a Christian, I'm not saying that gays are going to hell. I'm not. That's not for me to say, okay? I'm just simply saying that as a person, if I have my democracy and I'm able to have the freedom of expression, why do I have to say, hoorah, I support you and I encourage you? Because if you don't think that way according to the mainstream left, you are a bigot. There's no diversity of thought with these people. There just isn't. I'm just calling it for what it is, guys. Now, why do you follow them? Why do you not think for yourself? You say, I do think for myself. I just believe what they say. Okay, why, again, let me ask the question again. Why do you follow them? I will answer it for you. You follow them because it's very easy for you to sit down, turn on your mobile device or your television set, however you receive your news, and just listen to them speak in their very mid-Atlantic standard American dialogue because they sound compelling. They're all made up. They got the best makeup artist alive. They got the most elaborate sets available. It's compelling. I get it. But what's the very first thing that you hear when you turn on the mainstream media? What is it? Not what you see. What do you hear? You hear an orchestra playing. Okay? If you're turning on NBC Nightly News, you hear violins harping in the background. And then you hear this sort of melody that goes something like dun, 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 dun. Do you know what that's called? It's called sensationalism. Okay? Yeah, we know it's called music, but the idea, how it affects you, is called sensationalism. And it sucks you in. Just like that. And it has you. It has you locked into their so-called nexus of information. And you are going to choose to believe them. And why? Because it's easier. That's it. And you know it is. You know it's easier for you as opposed to going out thinking outside of the box and doing your own research. Let me float a little idea out there. A little thought process here. Okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and sound very, very simple and very, 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 very simple-minded, okay, for lack of better words, or lack of better, candor, however. Let's say that you and I are in a coffee shop, and we're talking, and I say to you, hey, the sky is blue, and you say back to me, yeah, the sky is blue. And I say, you know what? Let's go outside and look at it. And we walk outside and we look up and we see a nice, beautiful blue sky. And then we go back inside and have our coffee. And as we're having our coffee, just then on the TV above us in the coffee shop, a journalist comes on with a Brooks Brothers suit, done up in makeup, with the sensationalism theme song of the nightly news playing in the background. And he announces to us that the sky is orange. And we say, wait a minute. Wasn't the sky blue just a minute ago? And we walk back out and we look up and we see a blue sky still. Now, person that I am talking to is you, who follows the mainstream media. I want to ask you a serious question. Are you going to believe that the sky is blue? Or are you going to believe the gentleman wearing the Brooks Brothers suit that's telling you the sky is orange? It's a very, very, very simple, honest question. Just that's a very stupid analogy. I admit it. It's quite simplistic. It sure is. But the question is, how do you know what they are telling you is the truth? And do you go online and do you get statistics from Google or other news media platforms or big tech platforms and to confirm it? Is that how you know? Do you know that if they are being honest with you? Or do you think they may be telling you something that you just want to hear? Or do you think that they may be telling you something to want to brainwash you? Again, these are my opinions. I have to state this over and over again, so I'm not putting out misinformation. But be that as it may, I think that I'm going to go ahead and just leave this right where it is. I could go on and on about other things of how I believe, and other things politically of what I found out about past administrations and how corrupt they are, and how I choose to believe my alternative news sources. And I can also go into the big long story about why I voted for Trump twice. I could do that, but that would be a longer video. I like to hold your attention to just what I have right now and hope that it's possible that you may rethink what democracy really means. Thanks for listening.